Okay. All right, so it's streaming now, so I just want to make sure it's
Wonderful.
all set up. Bring you up. All right. Yeah, I just want to make sure we're live, so I'm gonna search it. Oh, yep. All right, cool. All right, Craig, go ahead and just talk, and I just want to test the mic and stuff.
Yeah, test it.
Oh, yep.
How's that sound?
Yep. Awesome. Okay. All right, so I was thinking that we could start off real quick with some current events, really quick.
Sweet. Awesome.
So, Anthony Davis.
Yes.
The Lakers re-signed Anthony Davis, which to me is a very good thing. He got signed on for an extra 3 years. He'll be signed all the way up until 2028. I know a lot of Laker fans are, including myself, are like on the fence because of his injury history, but this playoffs was really good for him. Like,
absolutely,
he stayed healthy. He played the entire postseason, and he was really dominant on the defensive end. LeBron probably has another year or two left, and this team, it feels like with him bringing back Rui, Austin, D'Lo, it's really built more around Anthony Davis.
Yes.
So that way he doesn't have to do so much scoring. You can really spread the ball between those three players, and he can play, but his back to the basket, he can still score. You want him to score, 25 or more. When the Lakers score 25 or more, when he scores 25 or more, the Lakers win 60% of their games. So I feel like that'll make it really easy for him to go into that role and be the defensive player. I just wanted to get your real quick opinion on that.
I in the NBA, one of the things that they have, because there are limited players, there's only 5 players on each team that are playing offense and defense. One of the things that they deal with is you re-sign Anthony Davis or you don't. Yeah. It's not like you could just sub somebody else in that can be Anthony Davis. That's just not a thing. Yeah. So they get to put Anthony Davis and his agent get to go to the Lakers and say, well, you can pay us X amount of money or you can just replace us.
Yeah.
And they can't.
Yep.
And so that leverage allows him to get max dollar. Yep. So comparing him, not knowing what the alternative is, or even if there is an alternative, which I don't think there is, then it's definitely better to re-sign Anthony Davis. I mean, part of the thing that's just crazy to me in basketball is just the money that's been floated around. I mean, the contract is just unbelievable. I mean, the wealth, the wealth of money. The NBA has really maximized making it an international sport. Yeah. And I think in our lifetime, I'm not saying next week, I'm not saying 2 years from now, but I do believe in our lifetime, the NFL will get something like this where they'll get an international country to give them a bunch of money just to broadcast their programs. And when they do that, then we'll see NFL contracts. We're going to see in our lifetime an NFL quarterback get $100 million a year. It's going to happen, but they need to get that outside source. And that's what's so great about the NBA. It translates so well internationally that we have foreign countries that are saying, we'll give you $100 million. We'll give you $2 billion. Just to replay what you already created.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's so congrats to the NBA, congrats to Anthony Davis, and congrats to the Lakers. I mean, they're definitely better with Anthony Davis.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, just to your point about the NFL and the NBA, what like the NFL, what they do is so good is like, if your position, because there's so many positions,
yes,
and if they feel like your position might be devalued, they're not going to pay you. Not only are they not going to pay you, the owners really stick together.
Yes.
For good or bad, they stick together.
There's a legal term for that. It's called collusion. Yes, it is. It is 100%. Dude, it is crazy to me. So it's crazy. I apologize. Is there something about Anthony Davis you keep wanting to talk about?
No. Go
okay.
ahead.
So it is crazy to me that in the NBA, this is how far away the NBA and the NFL is. Okay. In the NBA, is there any position in the NBA that you cannot get a max contract for playing? Like if you,
good question.
If you're a point guard, if you're a shooting guard, if you're a center, no, there's people making max money. In the NFL right now, we have a situation where the 3 best running backs are making a third of a subpar quarterback that's starting the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Like Daniel Jones is going to make more than Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, and most likely, I don't even know who the third would be, probably Derrick Henry, more than all 3 combined.
Yeah.
And the NFL sticks together. They say, running backs, we can replace you. Yeah. And I'm not saying they're wrong. But it's just so wild how it gets said all the time, copycat league. I mean, so the owners are all like, yeah, we don't need to pay. So people are like, that would be insane to pay Jonathan Taylor $16 million a year. Okay. They're saying it would be insane for that to happen for an elite running back, but no one bats an eye at Daniel Jones signed for $42 million when he is terrible. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
And then also, what's the guy? Saquon Barkley?
Yes.
He signed for 11. He was like one of the best running backs last year.
Yes, so dude, he is by far. What's even funnier is he has so little leverage. Okay, this is like, I don't know who his agent is, but I mean, oh my God, that guy should be fired yesterday. That he could have been. The rules in the NFL, you can be franchise tagged, and the next year you're guaranteed to make 40% more if they franchise tag you again. Okay. Mm-hmm. So he could have signed a franchise tag for $10.1 million. And then the next year, if he does amazing, the Giants would have had to pay him at least $14 million at minimum, absolute minimum. Okay. And if they franchise tagged him again, they couldn't do it a third time. That's how the rules work. Mm-hmm. He didn't sign the franchise tag, and the deal he negotiated got him an extra $900,000, and now the Giants can franchise tag him 2 more times. Oof. So for $900,000, if he gets injured this year, next year they can say, we'll give you 3.
Yeah.
He can't do anything. I'm like, what an awful for $900,000? You terrible deal.
Rich Paul, dude. What if Rich Paul started getting NFL clients? Oh my gosh, dude. The NFL would hate Rich Paul. Bro.
Yeah, I know. Well,
hate Rich Paul so much.
The thing is about the NBA is the guaranteed contracts, and the union involves a much smaller amount of people, and they make more money globally. So there's just and they have more content. So there's just all kinds of differences. You know, people are like, why shouldn't an NFL player should make more? Dude, NFL plays 16 games. Yes, they're highly rated, but it's 16 games. They're not making they're not playing 82 games of content for regular season.
Yeah, but those 16 games though, bro. Those are gladiator shit.
Dude, they're gladiators. And you're trying to pay 52 players, not 15.
No, you're right. And then also too, like, I think you need, in Saquon Barkley's perspective, like, you have to understand your injury history. You know what I mean? Like, you have to understand, like, they're not going to give you anything max because you have been hurt the last couple years. And I don't know why NFL players get too, like, they go on, like, a lot of players are going on podcasts these days and they're talking about how they feel. The problem with that is, like, nobody on these podcasts are going to ask them very serious questions.
No, they're all just friends.
I would ask Saquon, well, you've been hurt the last couple of years. Do you think that plays a factor? And if you're a business person on the other side, that's fair. It's called negotiating. That is fair.
And the thing is too, is that every union ever for the NFL, they've broke ranks to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
The union members, every single year in rookie camp, they have a financial conversation with these people. They sit all the rookies in front and they're like, you need to save money. You need to put away this amount of money. And every time they've gone on strike in my entire lifetime, there is a percent of the players that after they don't get a check for a couple of weeks, they're like, dude, I'm about to go broke. No matter how many millions they've earned. And so as long as they can always break the union, then they're never going to have guaranteed contracts. When NFL players agree to all strike and say, but here's the thing, that mainly helps the next generation. The average NFL player only plays for 3.5 years. So these guys are like, I'm missing out on my, if I sit out a year, that's 33% of my max earnings for my lifetime. I don't care about the future people. I'm looking out for myself. So.
All right, I just want to talk to you one last current event thing, and then we'll go into the main topics. I don't know if you know who Kai Cenat is, or if
yes,
okay. So
I do.
Unfortunately, he tried to do a giveaway, and it turned into just
chaos.
People acting like fools in chaos, right?
Yeah.
Now they arrested him, and they were saying like he could face 3 years in prison. When you have a platform, I do feel like it is your responsibility to do that gracefully. Like, you do hold a certain level of accountability. But I have a problem with New York NYPD trying to hold him to a higher standard than what they've done. Let's say Travis Scott, when a couple people, died at his concert. And then also when the riots were going on January 6th, no one faced any kind of consequences, right? So all Kai Cenat was doing was just throwing a giveaway that got crazy, which he didn't know any of these people. These kids are just out of control. They need fathers. Like, this is
that's absolutely true.
This is crazy, dude. So I just want to get your opinion on that real quick. If you even saw anything.
So I will tell you. So a couple things. Not that we want to go down this route. But I know that there's some people for January 6th that have been arrested. Okay.
I'm talking about the leader.
Oh, the leader. Yeah. Okay. We definitely don't want to talk about his name.
But
so
that's what I'm saying, like Kai Cenat, who organized the giveaway. He just organized a giveaway.
I think the difference is, okay, the reason I don't think it's apples to apples, I think the closest thing is to another entertainer, because I think we both agree the Orange Man wasn't an entertainer in this scenario. So yeah, he wasn't. So I think like Travis Scott, if his was at a concert, I believe
his was,
where they have, was it a concert?
It was a concert, yes, sir.
Okay, so if he's at a concert and then there's a concert organizer that has certain rules and laws that they have to follow, then Travis Scott is obligated to perform at the concert, but he's not responsible for the security, the venue, doing fire codes, yada, yada, yada. Right. And I think that this person did this giveaway. They didn't follow, like, there wasn't a promoter. It was very, it's an example of, hey, let's do something fun.
Right. Yep.
And it's not organized, and then it gets out of hand.
Yeah.
And so that's why they want to hold him accountable, because there was no promoter or security team or the venue. Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, if me and you, if we are ever to get famous enough, and we say, hey, everyone come meet at Hiawatha's Town Hall, all our fans, and 1,000 people come down there, and traffic gets backed up, and someone lights a firework, and then there's a stampede out of the place. We're going to be accountable. I mean, we are. I mean, that's going to be, because we organized it. There was no concert promoter. There was no, we didn't follow regulations. And so there's a certain level of that. Without looking at all the details of what happened, does 3 years sound insane? It does, but I apologize if I'm speaking out of turn and there's like someone died or something. Like, I apologize if that happened. Because I don't know all the crimes. I saw a video this morning of them assaulting street vendors, and it looked insane. But I don't know all the ramifications. I just know that people that are media influencers need to be aware of like despite the best of intentions, they probably need to think these things through a little bit for public safety.
Which is also unfortunate that people can't act right, because he was giving away, like, he had a bus full of PS5s, PCs, and he was just trying to give it away.
Yeah, in theory, you would think like people could do this.
Yeah.
You would think, but
people don't know how to act right.
They don't.
All right. So I watched The Flash finally. And
okay.
I love The Flash. Like, I love
the character.
The character. Yeah, I love the character. So it was really cool to see for like the last 10 years they've been talking about making a movie, and it's never happened. So the fact that they made the movie, and then also I know that actor doesn't get a very good rap, but
Ezra Miller
doesn't, which makes sense, right? In the movie, he's such a good actor, bro. He did so good. It sucks that like you can't praise him like that fully because of how he is as a person. So we can talk about maybe positives and negatives, and then we can rate certain things. So like maybe we can rate the CGI, we can rate the acting, we can rate the plot. So let's get the negative out of the way really quick. So one of my negatives is 100% the CGI. Now,
100%.
I saw the reviews and everything, but I'm not the kind of person to go off of a review. I like to see it for myself. And for like the first 4 minutes, I'm like, okay, that was bad. And then like there's a scene where he saves the hospital. You remember that? He saves the hospital and stuff like that. And yes, honey, the babies. So it was a hospital scene. He was saving the babies and stuff like that. And then like when he put them down, like he's really awkward in his suit. Every time he's in his Flash suit, the CGI just gets so bad. Now the positive in the CGI is like they make it better when it counts. So like Superwoman and her battle with the villain, really good CGI. I feel like when they were time traveling, the CGI was really, really good. But overall, I'd probably give the CGI like a 4 out of 10, bro. The CGI was so bad. Like, and in a superhero movie, you have to have good CGI. That's like superhero 101.
So I want to, first off, just in case by the 6 friends I have on Facebook that read my Flash review after I came out of the movie, I just want to explain something, that when I post a review of a movie, I am definitely in the afterglow. Okay. Mm-hmm. So think of it. I'm glad you made adult content. So think of this as when I'm in the afterglow of a movie, it's really like me just after sex, where I'm like, this relationship is great. Okay. But then after a couple minutes pass, I start thinking to myself, then minutes later, I'm like, okay, this woman's got to go. Okay.
Craig was in high school. Craig was a player, guys.
Oh yeah, exactly. I've only had one. So I want to tell you, to relate to my real life, I find that Larry David has a great joke on this where he goes, you know what? I find that when I want to have sex, I'm a way nicer person. That's true. So when I saw the Flash movie, I posted on Facebook that it was a 10 out of 10. Okay. That night, I did. I did.
Remember that.
Yes, I know. That's what I said. I'm sure that there's one troll that's going to find this on Facebook and go like, what Craig said. I'm like, I'm telling you, I did. And I woke up at like 3 a.m. to go to the restroom because I'm 48. And my brain instantly, like an earworm, started driving me nuts with several issues in the movie. And they just started going, creeping in my brain. But here's what happened. In the movie, spoiler alert, the emotional connection he had with his mother got me. So when I had that, and I loved some of the concepts of the movie and that Afterglow.
Oh, okay. So you're just talking Afterglow. Okay.
Yeah. So from a negative standpoint, one of those earworms that came into my brain, the CGI is just unacceptable.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I think you're being generous with 4 out of 10. And here's the thing. I saw the last movie I went to before I went into the Army in 1994 was Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park has better CGI in 1994 than The Flash has in 2023.
Yeah.
That is unacceptable.
Yeah.
That's like when they showed characters and did cameos in this movie, that was straight PlayStation 1 cutscene graphics.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable.
I
so
agree.
To your point, I think the CGI is like a 2. I mean, it's awful.
I just feel like
awful.
I try to give it credit because it got better in certain moments that were important. So like the time traveler part, like when they were time traveling, that was really good, man.
Yes.
And then like I said, Superwoman, I don't know if that's like her real, like, I don't know if that's her official title.
Dude,
but
she's hot. That's all I know. If anyone wants to know my thing, that's my thing.
You're so dumb. So yeah, so her CGI was really good. Moving on to a negative because we can both.
Yeah, I got 2 more negatives, so go ahead.
I think I have like 1 or 2 more. But Batman, like Ben Affleck's Batman just came in, and I'm like, dude, you're ruining the movie already. Because he's trying to be like, he's like the old guy that's like, Barry, you can't do that, Barry. Like, when it was a really cool cameo. First off, if you haven't seen the movie, you shouldn't even be in here.
Why would you see this movie? I don't know. If you have nothing better to do in your life.
So, Wonder Woman's appearance, right?
Yeah.
And where she has the lasso around Batman, and he starts confessing like his deepest, darkest secrets. I'm like, dude, stop! That's Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne doesn't get nervous around women.
No, like, it's the lasso of truth. Exactly everyone's susceptible.
No, that's exactly what my wife said when I complained about it. No, it's not good enough. That's not a good
Bruce Wayne's not susceptible to the lasso of truth?
No, he's not. That's Bruce Wayne, bro. He does not get nervous around women at all. Okay.
Yeah.
But my second negative was, I think, what are we doing with the storyline? Like the story itself, I find good, right? I find that good. But like, what's so good about Marvel movies is that there's always a plan. So was this movie just a Flash movie? Were you trying to remake like the Justice League? Because that's where I thought it was gonna go. And Superwoman, she's such a good actress, dude. When she was yelling at the villain when he told her that he took Clark Kent, and just that one where she yelled at him, such good acting. I feel like we didn't get enough of like her backstory. But the movie was about Flash. So
I was a huge fan of her acting. Dude. Okay, so to your point, and we've said this before, brother, in our friendship, when we thought Game of Thrones ending, there's other things when we're like, if we could come up with a better ending, and we're not professional writers, that's disgusting. Okay? Yeah. If we can be like, I can be in my basement working on a Christmas train set, and I go, you know what would have been better? Yeah. That's unacceptable.
Yeah.
In the movie, something that I deeply, I was on a drive with my wife yesterday, and I thought of this. What if they delayed the Flash movie? James Gunn delayed it to the point where he has the Batman cast, for his movie. Mm-hmm. That's going to be Batman Forever or whatever the hell it's called, whatever, Batman Legacy or whatever. Mm-hmm. So he has Bruce Wayne cast, and the cameo at the end of the movie is the next Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And so the Flash, then it connects as connective tissue to the next legacy, and he's the one that launches the James Gunn universe.
Yeah.
That alone would have made it significant. Instead, and this is just completely revolting. Okay, this is, when they film, when they do reshoots, that costs money.
Yeah.
Okay. When you spend an entire crew to film a scene for 2-3 weeks, and then you're like, do a test audience, and they say, no, thank you. You don't get that millions back.
Right,
that money was spent already.
Mm-hmm.
I heard, not entirely positive, but I heard the final scene with George Clooney, that was the third one they filmed.
Oh, wow.
So to think about this, all that horrible CGI, they didn't want to spend the money on that CGI, but they refilmed the final scene 3 times to end with the worst Batman that has ever been in any of the Batman movies. That's what they came up with?
Yeah.
That just blows my mind. Blows my mind. It has no connective tissue with anything.
Yeah.
Like, that's like, I honestly feel like, and I love James Gunn, but I almost feel like he wanted it to fail.
Yeah.
He wanted it to bomb.
Did he?
It's disgusting.
Did he have a hand in making this? I feel like he came on after.
He came on after, but Aquaman is actually on its 4th reshoot of scenes to make it connect to the future universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's on the 4th reshoot.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that if he told first off, he is the boss. Okay. Mm-hmm. That if he said, listen, I want this to be the first one that connects to the future universe. Let's reshoot these things. And then instead of a complete bomb, it will do, I think we can make it into a blockbuster. That WB wouldn't have supported it. That's ridiculous. That absolutely would have. Instead, they just threw a piece of crap out there and were like, yeah, it is. And maybe that's because Ezra Miller, maybe they're like, we don't want it to be successful.
Yeah. I think that's another reason why it got a bad review, because of the actor. Like,
yes, which is insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the time we're in, right? It's like,
dude, it is the time.
If people don't like you, they're not going to support you, which that's people's right. Like, I understand.
That is okay. I agree. It's their right to not support you, but to lie about they are. Okay, so for instance, O.J. Simpson killed a person. We both agree with this. Okay, did that make him a bad running back? No, he was a great running back. Okay.
People can't morally support stuff like that.
No, you can't. You cannot morally support it, but you can't say he was a bad running back.
Correct.
Ezra Miller is a great Flash.
Yeah.
And people bombed his movie because of what he did off screen.
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah. That's tough.
Just don't go to the movie. Don't say he's a bad actor or he's not entertaining or he's not charismatic. He's all of those things.
I agree. So just to talk about that, not supporting stuff, I listen to a lot of Kanye West, and I always tell my wife, like, he's probably the best hip hop artist of all time, and she's like, no, we don't support people like that. So over the weekend, I was looking at shoes because I have a shoe addiction, and Adidas is restocking his Yeezys. I was like this close to pulling that trigger, and Tara was like, you cannot be wearing those shoes. And I'm just like, but he makes really good shoes. Like, what can I do? But yeah, that being said, I understand why it's tough for some people to separate the two. Like, I understand why it's tough. So
can I tell you my third negative?
Yes.
It's okay. This might be a bridge too far for you. So I just want to understand. Okay. So I watch a lot of podcasts and things about science. Okay. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar how they do believe that you can travel into the future?
How do I know about that, or do I?
Yes. How it's possible to travel into the future?
No.
Okay. So Einstein, Neil deGrasse Tyson, all these people, I've watched podcasts where they say, if we can develop a ship that travels at the speed of light and we launch it off of Earth and it's going out into space, because of the gravitational pull in the way the Earth rotates, that if you leave the Earth for X amount of time and come back, you will come back at a further time. So like you are gone for an hour, you will come back 4 hours later in our time. Because, and that's actually like, that's real science. Okay. Now we don't have a ship that will travel the speed of light yet. We don't have that. Okay. So this is like sometime in the future, we have this ability. Excuse me. They haven't figured out the calculation, the math to travel into the past. They haven't figured that out yet. Like, how is that even possible? But theoretically, then also, what would happen if you ran into a prior self? Would it create a paradox where you like killed your parents before you were born and you're the one who killed them? Like, I love this thought process. In this movie, they introduced something called a pendulum. Okay. And the pendulum is like, it went right over my wife's head. She didn't even listen to it. Okay. Because they like, there's a scene where they talk about the science of the movie. And they said that when Flash goes so fast that he goes into the past, and when he hits, he changes the future, which makes sense, but he also changes the past. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Okay. Like, and maybe some science nerd can correct me on this, but my brain cannot grasp the concept that, Joel, if you traveled back into 1958, how that would change what happened in 1957. And I think that makes no sense to me. I have no concept. And that's how they explain that George Clooney is in the end, that he changed the past when he went back to his childhood. And that makes no fucking sense. So that stuff, I hate. I despise science or following rules. And I think that was done, once again, just to separate their multiverse from Marvel's and their rules. Like, we'll create another rule that makes absolutely no sense, logic. What? And in doing so, we're different. Well, different isn't always right. Just say you went to another Earth. Say you went to another, multiverse. That's fine. No one cares. The idea that you changed the past, that if you go into 1960, you changed 1945. What? So I hate that.
I think that's on a whole nother level of nerd. Like, that's
dude, it is.
Like
it is.
That's and like 1%. That's like, I cannot imagine being in a conversation with someone and they're like, really the rules of time travel, Joel.
Yes, dude.
Dude.
And wasn't even paying attention to when they described it. And I pulled it up on my phone. We were at a gas station and I said, this is how they describe. And you can Google search it and they go, time, it causes a back and forth. And Ange is like, when I read what they said online to my wife goes, I hate that. And I go, exactly. You just weren't even paying attention because there's so many things going on. And we're so desensitized to phony science in these movies that we don't even listen. Like, we don't even pay attention to them. But the dork in me, I was listening and I'm like, that's horrible. That's horrible.
I know some people that do that, and I'm just taking the movie for just an entertainment
movie.
I
understand.
You know what I'm saying?
I understand. So, I understand. I get it. I understand there's no ship that travels at the speed of light. There is no time travel. I understand these things. But they're at least they're still possible. They're still possible. There will never become a time in our life that Joel travels back to 1960 and that changes what happened in 1930. That is not a thing.
There won't be a time at all where I'll be able to change time in general.
Well, I don't think that. I think the time travel might happen, but that's a whole nother story. Okay, yes. Do you want to say what you did good? What you liked about it?
The positives that I thought were really good was the storyline. I think the storyline with the mom and the dynamics of him not being able to let go, right? Like,
absolutely. PTSD.
The PTSD of it, and him just not being able to let go of his grief and the stuff going on with his father. He wanted to fix them. So I thought that was really good, because past Marvel movies, besides like The Dark Knight, which obviously has amazing storylines and plots, I can't really remember the last DC movie that's had a good setup to it. Like the majority of DC movies, I feel like they're just entertainment. Like it's just like a little event, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like the storyline of it was just so good. But go ahead before I give you my second one. Go ahead.
I loved the story. That's why I said it was a 10 out of 10 when I left, because I fully admit I teared up. I teared up at his interactions with the mother. I thought that was brilliant. I mean, I talked to my mom like 10 times a week. So like that totally hit me in the feels. And also I love the concept that a man who controls speed, who is and can control time, refuses to accept his fate, and how that could change somebody into an evil person. So the Dark Flash, the concept of that was I loved that idea, where he's like, I've gone through this. And then imagine, it's once again related to Marvel, He Who Remains. Imagine if you're like, Joel, I have a way that you can make everything right, but you're going to have to live for infinity.
Yeah.
Or, you're going to have to keep, and you're just spinning around for billions of times. And how they explained that the Dark Flash, what is on him, is like kind of like scar tissue of him trying to change time over and over.
Yeah.
That was dope.
Yeah.
I mean, that was totally dope.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it. So I agree with you 100%.
The biggest thing is the storyline. I think the cameos were really cool. I wish that we got more of Superwoman. I feel like she was more involved, but also at the same time,
I agree.
I just think that it was a Flash movie, right? Like, so the cameos were just like an extra thing. I will say though, like, and this is why I wanted to talk about the negatives first. I wonder, because you talked earlier about like people being desensitized, and I'm wondering if at this point negativity is just really popular. So,
yeah, exactly.
Like whether it's a video game, whether it's music, or even a movie, it's fun to just culturally hate something. And I just feel like this movie, while it had issues, I would own it. Like I would own it. I'd even go back and watch it. Like I don't feel like there was so much that separated this movie from, say, something like Far From Home, which wasn't even like a built-in story plot. It was more, I found that movie just to be an event, like more than a movie. So I'd give the movie overall like a 7. And I think the main points is removing it from like being a 10 out of 10 is the CGI. Had the CGI been on point, it's gonna be a 10 out of 10 or at least a 9. Because the CGI is so unbearable. But maybe you take off another point because you don't know how this movie affects the rest of the DC films because of the uncertainty that's going on, right? But I think that if you just take the movie at face value, it's a good movie. Like it's a decent movie.
After time, because time, and it's funny, we're talking about time in a movie about time travel, but with time, Ange and I, my wife, my soulmate, she said yesterday, she goes, I'd give it a 6.5. And I said, I'd give it a 7. I said, I totally give it a 7. And at some point in my future, I will be able to embrace the things it does well. But at this current moment, much like the last Star Wars movie that came out, it just bugs me so much what they did wrong. For instance, Nicolas Cage is still alive. You're telling me right now that with CGI makeup, a wig, that if you could have paid, that you tell Nicolas Cage, hey, we want to pretend that you're alive in another universe as the Superman, that they could have paid him $1 million instead of going on their 18th reshoot, and he could have been a live person in it instead of CGI from a PlayStation 1, where we know it's Nicolas Cage, but it's terrible.
I didn't even think that was terrible. But to your point, I think we gotta like pull back on these cameos, man.
They took it once again. To your point, they tried to do better than what Multiverse of Madness did, but they didn't have the budget for it.
Right.
So they're like, look, Christopher Reeves, look, the guy for the original Superman, look at this. And they tapped in to the nostalgia, which is like the horror writer, Stephen King. I know that's why Stephen King gave it a great review. I know that's why, because he was thinking in his 60-year-old mind, like, oh, nostalgia. But the execution is terrible. It's awful.
Do you want to give the people your review of The Flash?
Oh.
Here, tell Craig your review. The people want to hear from you.
They want to hear. Tara, there's 900 people watching.
Tell Craig. All right, just tell Craig your opinion real quick. Yeah, speaking to the mic.
There's 1,000 people in Guam watching right now.
1,000 people in Guam. I thought it was really good. I love the story. Hi.
Hello, sweetheart.
And of course, Michael Keaton coming in was amazing.
Yes, Michael Keaton was amazing. The OG Batman was amazing.
Yep.
That was great. I didn't have a problem with that. Just once again, dude, if you had Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck, and then you connected it to a future James Gunn universe and had the new Batman show up at the end, that's instantly. The movie literally does $100 million more, just right there.
Yep. And of course, I know a lot of people didn't like him as Batman, but George Clooney, that was a nice little.
It's awful.
That was a nice little.
It was it made me smile.
Yeah.
But it's not. It pretty much like, okay, so this is his own thing. I relate that to throwing stuff up against a wall. That's what that was. Yeah. It was just throwing stuff against a wall.
I gave it probably like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Ange said 6.5. I said 7 because the mama stuff, but that's okay. It's all right.
That got to Tara too.
That got me like.
You got me. Oh yeah, I totally teared up. Yeah, when I get.
Miller did amazing. I mean,
Ezra's amazing. You know. But I guess in 2023 we're saying he's not a good actor because of stuff off screen. That's what we judge people by now. So it's completely absurd.
Talk to me. Oh, so good.
Woo!
Why don't you talk to Craig about Talk to Me? Here you go.
Yes.
Talk to Me was amazing.
Okay, wait a second.
Do the setup. Set up
yes.
Talking to Talk to Me.
Yes. So Talk to Me, independent horror film by A24. Absolutely brilliant film. A24 has kind of been known for these low budget horror films that are really heavy on plot and originality. And they've had, honestly, I've loved every one. I'm about to get A24 tattoo, so I'm just saying. I'm not doing that.
Blumhouse is amazing.
That's all. So with this movie, basic concept. We're gonna go into spoilers. Okay, we're gonna go into spoilers. But basic concept. You touch this hand and then you can talk to someone who's passed away and then you can let them in and they can take over your body. That's the basic concept.
Yep.
And from a positive standpoint, what were the positives in your mind, Tara?
So after Joel and I went to go see this movie, we kind of compared it to like Evil Dead Rise.
Yes, that's very fair.
And I
both
said,
low budgets, both low budget horror films. Yes.
But I said where I felt like Talk to Me excelled was the fact that it wasn't a part of a franchise or it wasn't connected to something, so it had its own way of being, its own originality. It had its own. It did not have to follow like storylines. It didn't have to follow a continuation of sticking on to something that was created in the past. So we kind of got an opportunity to just see this movie be its own entity. And I felt like it was done really well, especially the lead actress. I don't know what her last name is. Sophie is her first name.
Dude, she's amazing. She was amazing.
And then I also felt like another area where it excelled was it did a very good job with the storytelling. It didn't have a whole lot where you had to know what was going on necessarily as being a complex story, but it was something different as far as being able to open up something where I think it could go on to become a franchise. I think that the way that it ended, it absolutely could open up another movie.
So I think, in my opinion, the originality is just off the charts because it had a thing. And compared to Evil Dead Rises, I think is a brilliant comparison because they were both done on a limited budget with practical effects. So there's no CGI, there's nothing like that. This was all makeup, camera angles, that sound effects. That's what it was. It's all practical stuff. And what I loved about it and Evil Dead Rises, there's obviously subgenres of horror movies, obviously. And Evil Dead Rises is minimal plot. Here are the rules of the universe. And then let's see how insane the horror can get. Okay, that's what it is. And I love that. But I also, as a fan of horror films, I love the minimalist approach of talk to me. I love movies where another A24 movie, Midsummer, where there's nothing really horrible that happens. And then a guy jumps off a cliff and you see his head explode and you're like, what the? And this movie, when there's really no horror, real like gruesome brutality until the girl, the main actress, talks to her mother and then the kid starts bashing his own head in. And it's so horrific, him trying to pull his own eyeball out, that it just goes from 0 to 100 in like 30 seconds. That was amazing. So
my eyes were closed. My eyes were closed. I didn't even see when he started bashing his head in. I'm literally like this. It was so tough for me to watch, man. Like that part.
The first time when the kid, bam! I was like, oh no, please make it stop. My husband's gonna have a heart attack over here. Make it stop.
Good. And then the two most traumatized, there's 3 traumatizing scenes in the movie. Once again, I'm apologizing. I'm not going to describe it so well that I would like, oh, I don't even want to watch it now. No. If you love horror, you've got to see this movie. You have got to. I cannot recommend it enough. You will regret not seeing this on a big screen. Okay. The second traumatizing, when he wakes up, he bites his sister's hand, and then he bashes his head into the wall, and then he starts licking the blood off the ground. I was like, oh my God. Candy, my best friend Candace sitting next to me. Okay. Tara and Candace are my horror goddesses. Okay. They're both into these horror movies and love this traumatizing stuff. And Candace is next to me, and she was like, oh my God. Because it was so brutal. He sticks his tongue out and he's like trying to lick up his own blood. I'm like, does it? And then I appreciate, once again, the less is more. The flash of a scene at the end when she's trying to talk to where he's located, and the implication where it's only on screen for like 1 second. Okay. Maybe if it was on for 5 seconds, but it makes your imagination have to fill in the blanks of what you're actually seeing. And it kind of implies that he's in some hell and he's getting ripped apart by these people. And it's so quick that it's just a bunch of actors with brown slime on them and they're moving their hands and ripping clothes. It's done, but it's so quickly and with the other trauma that's been in the movie that your brain fills in like, what did I just look at? And it's just it's hell. Like it is everyone's worst. It's hell. Joel?
I had a question, like, because at the end, and I don't know if me and Tara talked about this, because like at the end she was supposed to kill Riley. Like that's what her mother wanted her to do. It didn't really talk about how she came to the conclusion of like she wasn't going to do that, and how if she instead jumped in front of those cars, that somehow this would save him. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it was more like a gamble that she took. Like, oh well, maybe I'll just do it. Like, what was the point of her bringing him outside of the hospital?
Okay, so my thinking is the spirits control your mind to do things. So we're seeing it as her mom telling her. They're influencing. So they're not necessarily controlling your body. They're influencing you to do something terrible, okay? Because they're evil at this point. They're mentally ill. They're disturbed. So her mom, we see it on our end as he's bashing his head on the ground. He's intentionally doing that. They're controlling him. Where on the other end, it's, this is mine, Tara, please correct me if you think something different. But I think that spirit is telling you, like, the spirits are in your head, get them out of your head, and bash your head. So her mom was not real nice and controlling, but manipulating. You set him free. This is the only way you can do that. And at the very end, right before she pushed the kid in traffic, she was able to regain and have some clarity. She was having some clarity and sacrificed herself. And that's what I took it as, but you are correct. It's open for interpretation, I think, with what we saw. Tara?
Go ahead. I want to get your opinion.
So for mine, because I was thinking about it. So do you remember at the very beginning when it was Mia and Riley and they were in the car and they were driving and the kangaroo was in the street?
Yes.
Dying. Okay.
Yes.
Suffering.
Yes.
That's what is going on with Mia. She's suffering because of the loss of her mom. And remember, he was like, you can't leave it like that. It's suffering. You have to help it. There was a flashback where she flashed back to that kangaroo in the road. And I think she correlated that kangaroo to herself. Like, I'm the reason Riley is where he's at right now. This is all because of me not letting go of my grief. I'm suffering. I need to help myself. And I think that's why she sacrificed.
Tara,
herself.
do we have the ability just to kick Joel off this? Because that was way better than anything we said. That was way better. We just send Joel off this meeting. We don't need him on here. That was great. Okay, so true story. True story. That's actually a thing in writing. Like if you take a writing class, that's an actual thing that's done. In Oppenheimer, they do this as well. Where they have an early scene that's fictional. It didn't really happen in real life, but a really scene, and it's to set up some future. So Christopher Nolan does this once again. That was great. Yes, exactly. I think you're 100%. Joel, if Joel wants to come back on, I'd like to hear his review, his score.
Hold on. So wait, I'll come back.
Yeah, I was just joking, Joel. There's something you can add. You can be our IT person.
Yeah. No, I can be like Joy. I can just be like,
exactly. You're tech level 2. You just come in.
Okay, so what would you guys rate the movie? I'll go last.
Tara, you want to go?
I would give it like an 8.5, maybe a 9 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I would give it like a 10 out of 10. I don't know if you guys, I heard a little bit because I'm in the next room. I think it's better than the Evil Dead because I feel like the Evil Dead, like there's so many like scares in the movie, right? Like it's meant to like scare the crap out of you. Like this movie is on par with that too, but then like it also has a good storyline. It's just not another horror movie, if that makes sense. So I'll give it a 9 out of 10 as well.
I give it 10 out of 10. You can call me an A24 fanboy. I fully will embrace that 100%. But I just love, like, the history of cinema. The future of cinema is going to be saved by original ideas and being able to make movies on a reasonable budget. And horror is one of those things that's going to save the box office. It is. And like right now, everyone thinks that you have to spend $300 million on a movie and it has to do $1 billion and then we can break even. Like that's a horrible business model. And movies like Evil Dead Rises, Talk to Me. These are the reason. You can put a movie out, spend $10 million to make it, use practical effects. It does $40 million in the box office and people made money. People had jobs. That's the future. That's thing. Like that is, so I just love the originality. I love the practical effects. I love the minimalist. I love the I love the end. I love the end that it makes me want more. Whether it even happens, a sequel, her walking towards the light and it's in a foreign country of like, okay, what does that mean? What happens next? I love that one, Candace was right next to me and Candace like, 10 out of 10. Like the end credits showed, she's like, 10 out of 10. That was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. Yeah. Like it disturbed you and made you think about these things, and it wasn't so color by number. And I'm a fan of all horror. I love an Evil Arises where it just keeps amping up. I love that. Yeah. I love the absurd, and I love that you go into and on minute 1, here are the rules, and they stick to those rules. Yeah. I love that. Unlike DC movies. But I love that very much. And this, I love that it had its own rules and its own universe and its thing. That was so cool. That was just so cool.
Yeah, I have to think they're going to make a better one, but another one. But also just horror in general, just these last 2 movies, like these are the standards for how horror movies are going to be done. And if you don't meet those standards, like your movie's not going to do well. But you seen just like when we watched what is the new
Sidious?
No, like Sidious was okay, but the new like horror guy, the clown Beb, I forgot his name.
Oh yes.
Terrifier. Like even Terrifier, like as the villain Art the Clown he's very charismatic, but there's no story background to it. So if they can get a good storyline to go along with that movie, it's going to be really good. But I mean, you've seen how bad Halloween Ends was because of the story. It's just not enough anymore for you to have a name attached to the film, and it'd be good. It's just not enough. You really have to do what these movies are doing right now. These horror films are doing right now. So these 2 movies are the standard, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think, and what would be wrong with horror movies as a genre are just movies that are done on a budget. Like, what's wrong with that? That's not a bad thing. No. Like that's a thing. Obviously, dude, this is insane. Do you know what the budget of Talk to Me is? How much the movie was made for? In 2023, it was made for $4.5 million. Dude, that's nothing. That is absolutely nothing. So for $4.5 million is made. So to make a profit, it basically has to be 2.5 times. So to make a profit, it had to make basically 10 million. It had to make 10 million. And right now it's at 20 million. So it made millions of dollars for their studio. Millions. That's awesome. That's fantastic. I love it. It didn't have to do. I love Tom Cruise. Dude, Mission Impossible, it's got to make like $1 billion to make $1. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. Like you can do things on a budget and still make them fantastic. And this is that. It gives me hope for the future.
Okay. All right, Beb, thank you for coming on. That was awesome.
You don't have to leave.
Yeah, we're gonna talk. We're gonna do one more thing. And,
okay, one more thing.
Yeah. So we're Tara.
So for all you guys know, that's actually the talent of the family.
That is the talent of the house.
She's really, like Nardwar is the human for like hip hop and music. Mm-hmm. Tara is that for horror movies. So I'm not even going to pretend. I'm not even going to pretend.
Good point about the end too. That was really good.
Dude, that was awesome.
So I don't know if you had anything else that you wanted to talk about. I was just going to end it because you always play a game. So
yes, let's play the game, and then I'm going to grab some brunch.
Okay.
Woo!
So we will, we'll do the game Keep or Pass.
Yes.
And then this time we'll do point guards. So
okay, sweet.
I'm going to say, I think we've done this before, but I'm going to bring up a different player.
Yes.
So let's say Keep or Pass John Stockton. So I'll bring up some players that either you take John Stockton over or you're going to keep him instead.
Or pass him. I'll take the other guy. Yes.
Yeah. So hold on. Let me bring up a list of point guards. Just off the top of my head, we'll say Jason Kidd. Or would you keep or pass on him?
I mean, I'd keep John Stockton.
Yeah, I'm going Jason Kidd.
But wait a second. What did Jason Kidd do better than John Stockton?
He won a championship. And he does everything. He won a championship.
With Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, but he still won. Jason
No. Don't say he does everything, because he was a far worse shooter.
No, he was a far worse shooter. No,
yes,
he
John.
He shot
Jason Kidd was a far worse.
No, he wasn't.
Look, we didn't get in an argument this entire time, and now one question of keep or pass, we're already upset.
No, dude, he's a way better shooter than.
Oh my God, that's a completely. That is such a bogus. Okay, we're pulling this up. We're pulling up.
Look up his 3-point percentage.
We're okay. I'm pulling. I'm pulling up. Dude, Jason Kidd had an awful 3-point shot until he's like 38.
Time out, and I'm gonna bring up another one once you bring up the stats before we get ahead of ourselves.
Okay, John Stockton for his career. 1 second. It's churning. My internet is like, Craig, my internet's trying to stop me on this argument by loading.
Yeah, exactly.
He goes, don't bring this up. Okay, John Stockton for his career was a 38-point 3-point shooter and shot 51% from 2. 51. Jason Kidd for his career was 40% from 2-point range. Yeah, 40 and 34% from 3.
That's fine. So fine.
Okay, so first one goes to Craig.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Do you know how many finals appearances Jason Kidd has?
Oh, so we're now it's a team game.
No.
Hey, listen, Jordan Homer.
Hold on. Time out. John Stockton's team was never built around John Stockton. It was always built around Karl Malone. It was built around Karl Malone. Okay, we all know that.
We're not going to get through this one answer.
and then if you take Jason Kidd, who's gone to 2 finals with the New Jersey Nets, when he had, I can't even remember all the players, but he went to back-to-back finals. He lost. He's been to 3 finals appearances. He has 1.
Okay, I got to be honest with you. I'm struggling to find any stat that Jason Kidd has one stat that he is better than John Stockton in. Rebounds 6 to 3. That's it.
Yeah, I'm taking.
That's it.
But can you talk about him going to the finals with the team that was built around him, not John Stockton?
What team went to the finals that was built around Jason Kidd? What was that?
The New Jersey Nets.
So
here,
what year are we looking at here?
Was it like 2002?
That's what I thought it was. That's what I did it on. So that year, and I'm not going to say Jason Kidd wasn't the leader on the team. I'm not going to say.
He averaged 19 points, 9 assists, and 8 rebounds. And that's the year that's in the playoffs.
Here's what I'll say. That team, if you look at that team, I'm not saying he wasn't the leader. So don't jump on me on that one. But I will say that was a team like the Pistons before them, where they had 5 guys that averaged 15 points a game. I mean, they had a really good Kenyon Martin, Richard Jefferson. They had a lot of people that were in that 40-50.
Yeah, there were guys, okay?
Yeah.
There were guys. That team was built around Jason Kidd being able to distribute the ball.
So the team was built. So your argument is that a team was built around him that lost the finals, but the reason he's ahead of them because he was a hanger-on for a team that won the finals.
No. I just think he's a better player just in general.
That's fine.
Just to be able to.
Hey, who did you see play live more? Who did you see on television?
I'm glad that you brought that up because old heads.
Confirmation bias.
No.
Confirmation bias.
No, listen, old heads love to bring up you didn't watch it live for it to be nostalgic.
I just want to be stats.
But hold on. But not knowing that we have YouTube, we could go back and watch these games. Like, all I have to do is just type in X amount of games that this person played. I didn't need to be there in 4K. I can watch the game in 4K. I didn't need to be alive. Okay, we got to move on to the next one.
We're not even through the first. We're not even through the first.
I'm going Jason Kidd. Fuck that.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right, so the next one, I'm gonna say Tony Parker.
Oh, absolutely, John Stockton. That's not even close. I mean, Tony Parker. Tony Parker's one of those.
Wasn't Tony Parker a Finals MVP?
Here's the thing. Tony Parker. I don't even know. Tony Parker's one of those guys that if he was drafted by someone other than the Spurs, he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. That's actually a question to talk about. That's a thing. In the NBA, that's a thing. So we should do the all got lucky as hell team. That's it. That's a whole nother show.
Tony Parker won the Finals MVP in the 2007 NBA Finals. Man.
Who was on that team?
Tim Duncan.
Oh yeah, that's right. Tim Duncan.
Oh yeah, but John Stockton had
wait,
Malone.
Who else was? I just want to say, who else was on that team?
Manu Ginobili. What do you want? I don't understand why people they're like, he had good. Yeah, he's supposed to have good players. Like, I just don't understand. It's not.
I'm not saying he didn't have to have good players.
Two of the best defenders in the world at the time. And
Wait a second.
Pippen.
So that year, that team that he won with, dude, I'm not going to list it because there's so many great players on that team that it's just completely ridiculous. Great
players,
dude. Bruce Bowen, an all-time player as far as defense. Big Shot Bob Robert Horry.
He came off the bench. He averaged like 10 points.
Big Shot Bob. It had Damon Stoudemire on it. It had Manu Ginobili, Michael Finley.
And
Tim Duncan,
Finals MVP, so you can't discredit him for that because he did get.
Yes, he won the Finals MVP. Absolutely, that's good. Yes.
All I'm saying, my point is, that I think Tony Parker might get a little.
I think you're anti-Mormon.
What does that even?
Because John Stockton, I think he's a Mormon because he's in Utah. I'm just guessing. I don't know.
I'm surprised you even like John Stockton like that. You know he's like anti-vaccine, right? You know he's.
Once again, I can separate the two. I don't cancel people. I don't say he wasn't good at his position.
No, I'm not saying. Obviously, John Stockton's a legend. I'm not saying I'm taking Tony Parker over him, but he's a 4-time All-NBA, 2007 Finals MVP, 4-time champion. He won rookie. He's all rookie 2000, 2001, 6-time All-Star. He averaged 15 points, 49% field goal percentage, and he has a Finals MVP.
So if you were going to argue, I'm just being honest with you as far as like, I'm just letting you know, if you wanted to argue about the Jason Kidd thing, one thing that you could bring up is I'm super confident that he was that he won multiple that he was all defensive 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, so 9 times he was on the all defensive team. I don't know. Stockton was 1 2 3 4. He was 5, so you could argue that he was a better.
But John Stockton also led the league in steals, though. Like, let's not act like I'm not gonna sit here and act like John Stockton wasn't him. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. I mean, once again, we're arguing about 2 of the top 5 greatest point guards all time. This isn't like we're not like bashing one. Just saying one's better than the other is not bashing the other.
Just talking about Tony Parker and looking at his numbers, I just feel like he's highly underrated on this point guard list, and that's why I wanted to even bring him up.
Yeah, so I understand.
So we'll move on.
Let's get bias. All right, let's get.
So we'll move on unless you had another point that you want
to
bring
up
about
Tony
Parker. Isaiah Thomas.
I think Isaiah Thomas is like top 3 point guard all time. So I would say he's above John Stockton. I would take him.
Even though Michael Jordan tried to keep him away from the dream team.
I do. Tony Parker, Isaiah Thomas, Zeke. If Zeke would have been drafted by another team, he could have scored 25 points a game. He could do anything he wanted. Like he was just amazing. He was amazing. And so he did whatever it took to win. Yeah. Zeke was ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, and then we'll do 2 more. Steph Curry.
Okay. Oh, Steph Curry, I definitely take. Steph Curry changed the game. I don't think Tony Parker changed nothing. I mean, John Stockton changed nothing.
Here's the thing, though, about the Steph Curry thing is like, yeah, he's a point guard, and he does things so differently that not a typical point guard does. So I just don't know if you want to put him in that category. Now, to a good point that somebody brought up to me was that the way that Magic Johnson and John Stockton affected the game in terms of passing the ball and getting everybody involved, and that changed how defense had to play. The way that Steph Curry shoots also creates opportunities that's just as effective as passing the ball. That makes sense because the defense has to worry about his unlimited range, that it affects how you prepare for him, if that makes sense.
I think it makes perfect sense. And I think one of the challenges that you're going to face, and this is a basketball, there's no other sport. I guess the closest thing in football is when we're comparing receiving tight ends to wide receivers, and we're like comparing the two because there is such thing as a blocking tight end. And Steph Curry, comparing him to John Stockton, when Steph Curry's an all-time great shooter and John Stockton's primary game was passing, is tough. It's like, one of the things, when I was a little kid, this is insane. When I was a little kid, I remember looking at a top 10 all-time power forwards, and Buck Williams was on the list. Mm-hmm. A guy who averaged 11 points and 10 rebounds, because they said, well, that's what power forwards do. Yeah. Power forwards don't score. Well, then Tim Duncan, Dirk Nowitzki, all these guys Giannis start stretching the floor, and they've revolutionized it. That's like Steph Curry in the point guard. Like, yes, he technically, I guess, is considered the point guard, but to compare his game to, could Steph Curry, at the detriment of his own scoring and winning, could he average more assists? Yeah, he could. Mm-hmm. But he's insane. I mean, he's the greatest shooter in the history of basketball. So I would always take Steph Curry.
Yeah, I agree. All right, the next one is Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson is the greatest point guard in the history of the NBA. So, like, there's nothing. There's no one.
But we also, like, we can't forget, though, John Stockton did go into LA, and he gave Magic like 45 triple-double, bro. And, like, what's crazy, because I send you the games that I watch.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll send you, like, John Stockton's like triple-double that he had in the second round of the playoffs. So I'll send you these things, like, like, I'm studying this shit. But John Stockton, for how little he was,
yes,
being able to, he was so fucking quick, man. Like, he wasn't stronger than any of those guys on the court, but he was like, I don't know if I want to bring this comparison up because it's a whole nother level of thing, but he was almost like Chris Paul before Chris Paul.
Yeah,
if that makes
sense. That is an amazing comparison.
You know what I mean? He didn't have the handle, but also his passing was on another level. His defense, he wasn't a good one-on-one defender, but just like Allen Iverson, he was able to play the passing lanes very, very well, especially for back then when a lot of guys weren't that fucking quick until like Nick Van Exel came into the league, right? So that's why I think that John Stockton doesn't get enough credit.
Dude,
compare him to those other players.
That I just want to tell you, and I'll say this about Chris Paul. My last argument about that is that I would say Chris Paul post-injury. So when Chris Paul was like I remember when Chris Paul was with the, I want to say it was the Hornets, and he was like his second year in the league, and he was honestly unstoppable. He was unstoppable. I remember watching him where his ability to spin on a dime, get a shot off he was on top. I watched him in the playoffs. I'm like, this is the greatest point guard I've ever seen. And then he hurt his knee and he had to change his game. But it didn't make him bad. Yeah. He changed it and he was different after that. And he was still great. But Chris Paul to John Stockton is by far you're thinking about Magic Johnson. Dude, this is completely insane. Because we know, like, from a 2-point shooting, how hard it is to average 15, 18 points and shoot 55% from the field. Unless you're a center, that's almost impossible in the modern NBA. There was several years in a row where Magic shot 56% from 2-point range, averaged 13 assists and 17 points. Yeah. That's insane. And he averaged 8.5 rebounds. 8.5 rebounds.
Yeah, but Magic was so big that he could get to the lane. He didn't have a good, he didn't have a good jump shot.
Dude, and he was having sex with like thousands of women while doing this. That's amazing. That's why he is truly Magic.
And having to edit this stuff out. I don't understand.
That's why he's truly Magic.
There's another reason why he's truly Magic. But I feel like those shots, Magic didn't, he didn't have a good jump shot.
Yeah, he did.
He didn't have a good jump. So he was able to get to the rim so much easier because of his size. So for John Stockton
that's unbelievable.
To shoot at a 50% rate at his height is still very good.
Dude, I want to say, Matt, this is what the whole thing about the triple double thing that just it makes it so garbage in Westbrook. Dude, Magic 1 year won the championship, averaged 9.6 rebounds, 9.5 assists, and 18 points a game while shooting almost 55% from the field, and won a championship. What is actually better, that or Westbrook doing a triple double on a team that's 3 games under 500 while shooting 40%?
I agree that the triple double when you're on a bad team doesn't look very well.
No,
but the fact that I wonder if people, especially people who do this on networks and stuff like that, even like sports anymore. Because the fact that we're trying to say like averaging a triple double is so garbage. Like if it was so easy and everybody could do it.
No, it's not garbage.
But then people would do it all the time on bad teams.
Very true.
Bradley Bill ain't out here scoring triple doubles every night.
I agree.
Wade wasn't doing that. So that's all I'm trying to say. We can't just like discredit.
I'm not discounting it. I'm just saying that 9.5, and 19 with a championship is obviously far superior to 10, 10, and 20.
People are going to take that over. The majority of people are going to take that over the triple double. I say that out loud, but also at the same point, the way that how much money you make in today's game, some of these guys don't even like basketball. Like they just want the money. So if you gave some of these guys the opportunity to score a triple double and get a max contract, they're just going to do that. So
okay, one last statement before I go?
Yes.
Okay, last statement. First off, I love Joel and his whole family, and Tara was amazing in her debut. So I just want to get that on the official record. She was amazing. And the second thing, guys, the reason Joel is so vigilant in defending Russell Westbrook is because his daughter called him Russell Westbrook. Last week we had a shooting game, so he said I got in his feels.
I was gonna win that shootout, and then Craig, I'm like super focused, and Craig's like, yeah, you're 5 out of 8. You're 5 out of 8, like your height, and that totally fucked me up throughout the rest because I couldn't take it serious anymore.
And then I told his daughter to say, "You can do it, Russell Westbrook."
So messed up. That's so messed up.
All right. Love you guys. Love you, brother.
Love you, brother. Later.
Later.